Wait! You may be wondering why the red suit. Well, that's so bad guys can't see me bleed. This guy's got the right idea. He wore the brown pants.
Hey, howdy, hey, people of the internet. Deadpool here. We're going to talk about me today. Oh, no, I can't put that on for the whole video. It's just too hot. Down the corners, you can tell from my hair. But anyway, yes. Wolfman 47 Dash here, and yes, we are talking about Deadpool. But the problem I have is, what is there left to talk about Deadpool? Because pretty much everybody has talked about him to death now. He's had 3 feature films, a video game, many appearances on different Marvel all-star TV shows, video games, etc. We all know him as the Merc with a mouth, a person that can break the fourth wall, a person that likes to please Lady Death, although I think I might be more Thanos than Deadpool, but I know he can feel like that. He's not really a villain, nor is he a good guy, so he's kind of in the middle, sort of like the anti-hero. The Deadpool we saw in X-Men Origins Wolverine is not Deadpool. He's a completely different being altogether. And he has at least once, maybe twice, killed the Marvel Universe, which I will explain now. So, as we all know, Deadpool can break the fourth wall and does all these weird and crazy things, but there have been times where some versions of Deadpool have gone a bit over the top, insane, etc., and this is where the Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe comes in. So basically, this version of Deadpool somehow manages to wipe out every single popular Marvel hero at that point in time, and then he goes on to kill all the people that inspired these various characters, because of course all these Marvel characters are not original. They are actually inspired by different historical figures, authors and so forth. And so that's like in the second part of this. And then in the third part, we again get this other story where Deadpool basically enters the Deadpool verse and meets a lot of different variants of Deadpool. It's basically exactly what you saw in the Deadpool and Wolverine, the Deadpool and Wolverine film, with all the Deadpools arriving, but it gets a bit more insane because you got Galactus as a Deadpool, Galactus, and other beings as well. And then the Marvel Universe, and then he tries to kill the Marvel Universe again, and then the Marvel Universe kills him, and so on and so forth. In most versions of his character, as in story-wise, he's always depicted as this guy that has a sort of inner voice, or 2 inner voices inside him. One that's sort of like a very announcer-like voice, and the other that's less so. It's kind of like all those times where cartoon characters had to confide in an angel and a devil kind of being. But in Deadpool's case, it's not really, they're not depicted as that. They're just his inner monologues and inner voices.
Well, here we are, the moment of truth. Can you believe it? You know, I wasn't sure how you do, but gotta say, you crushed it. Well, we crushed it. We make an amazing team.
Nearly brings us to tears.
We should do this more often. We thought it'd be better for the game if we did it this way. You know, giving you the glory after we did all the work.
Just push your button to execute our super awesome amazing plan.
Some of which has not yet been seen in the films, but obviously that is a different Deadpool to the Deadpool that we've seen in comics and video games and so forth. We all know that Nolan North is the definitive voice for Deadpool. Nolan North, for those who don't know, is also the voice of Nathan Drake in Uncharted, Desmond Miles in Assassin's Creed, probably the worst voice of Penguin in the Batman Arkham games, and he's done numerous other voice workers as well, including those. He's got quite a very distinctive voice. If you've seen Nathan Drake or Desmond Miles, you can definitely pick up his voice. And whereas when he's voicing Deadpool, it's kind of like a more hyper-active version of Nathan Drake and or Desmond Miles. Obviously, the Penguin, he's put on a Cockney accent, why they can have just hired a voice actor with a Cockney accent from here in the UK. Who knows, but that's the way they went about it. And obviously, Ryan Reynolds portrays him in the films, initially portraying him in X-Men Origins Wolverine, during the days before he became a leading man, and then he becomes a leading man. And Fox, even though I'm pretty sure they were probably very hesitant to even think about making a Deadpool film with Ryan Reynolds after the disaster. They decided to risk it, and the risk paid off in the end, and it ended up being a very good film with two slightly worse but otherwise not too bad sequels to go with it. And yes, I am including Deadpool and Wolverine because technically it is the third film in that trilogy, but at the same time it's also the conclusion to the Fox Marvel universe, which was largely more X-Men than anything else. So yeah. So what else is there left to say? Well, obviously he's had lots of different variants, as I said. He's done all sorts of crazy things. I even have this series of what's called the Deadpool All Killer No Filler collection, where it's basically a collection of Deadpool books that basically try and build this big picture. You know what those are. You've seen me collect those sorts of books in whole videos. A lot of those stories feature him teaming up with other Marvel heroes, and they're kind of done in such a way that they're actually there for a good laugh, because Deadpool's the sort of character that isn't really tragic. He isn't really all that. He's not really as tragic as, say, Wolverine, and he's not... and he doesn't really have anything that he fights for like Spider-Man does, as far as I know. I mean, he might be fine for chimichangas, because that's his favourite food or whatever. But yeah, so... Deadpool, I think, he's definitely one of my favourite Marvel characters, because he doesn't take life seriously. He breaks the fourth wall, and anyone that likes to poke fun at a franchise that can be quite full of itself is a win in my books, because the Marvel Cinematic Universe and also the Fox X-Men universe can be a bit full of themselves. At times, especially Fox with their continuity errors left, right, and center. So yeah, in terms of the team ups, I look forward to the day when Deadpool teams up with Spider-Man, because for those who don't know, Spider-Man and Deadpool do a lot of team ups in the comics. It's one of my late sister's favorite team ups, that they team up to work together to help things. But it's great to see him and Wolverine together in a film of their own. I should play more of the game, but I know it can be a bit challenging and can be quite tedious, because it's meant to be a Deadpool game trying to poke fun at not just Deadpool, but also the video game industry at large. And I know a lot of reviewers, when they played the game, they found it very tedious and quite repetitive in terms of the jokes and everything. It was kind of getting a bit too much, so to speak. But Deadpool, he's one of these characters that is a bit much. He's also a character that has a full head mask, as you saw at the beginning of the video, by which I mean you don't see his mouth or whatever. It's just a kind of mask thing. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say. He's a Merc with a mouth. He does all sorts of crazy things. Love him as a character. Look forward to seeing more of him in other forms of media, whether that's more films or something else. As I said, Nolan and North Environmentals, they're the definitive actors to play the character. I don't think there's anyone else that can quite compare to how they portray him. And to be honest, let's be honest, Deadpool's not really the kind of character that you need like a very dramatic performance. You just need someone who has a sense of humor, understands the character well, and you're good to go. And pretty much everything else that I could say about Deadpool is stuff that other people have said already. Although, there is another storyline I do remember from the comics, which is connected to the Marvel Zombies storyline. So, in the third Marvel Zombies book, and this is coming from what I saw from this YouTuber called Comic Historian, who is no longer with us anymore, but I remember watching a lot of his videos, and he was reading the Marvel Zombies series. And after the second book, the third book is focused on a new cast of zombies, and among them is Deadpool. And Deadpool ends up becoming Headpool, and then goes on this little journey, and then ends up finding himself with the mainstream Deadpool, and then they go on a little adventure, and then he finds himself sort of like going in a sort of repeated pattern, as it were, which I thought was quite interesting. He's had a lot of interesting stories, a lot of funny stories, but overall he's a character that shouldn't be taken seriously. He's a character that if you manage to get him right, you're going to do well. If you manage to get him wrong, like Fox did, then do what they do and just give him a break and don't bring him back until you've figured out how to do him justice and everything. Because when you got a character called a Merc with a mouth, the last thing you need is some guy that is very clearly Deadpool have his mouth sealed up, because that's not Deadpool. That's just an abomination, if anything else. So yeah. But yeah, that's what I've got to say about Deadpool. And I know lots of YouTubers have talked about Deadpool to death. He is definitely a pop character, and he's probably the only time in this character study series of videos in which I actually don't have much to say about the character apart from what I've said, because a lot of the stuff I've said is things that people have said before. Because I know with a lot of these videos I'm particularly late to the party. I say stuff that people have already said, trying to put my own spin to it, but it can sound similar. But I hope you understand how I feel about the character and everything. But yeah, that's how I feel about Deadpool. What I like, what I don't like, and everything. Well, it's more what I like. There's hardly anything I don't like about Deadpool. But yeah, so if you like him, hate him, whatever, love to hear what you think about Deadpool. So draw your own conclusions in the comments as always. And I'm just gonna have a drink before I finish off. Yeah, really hot day, so definitely need to stay hydrated. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Like, share, comment, and subscribe if you can, please. Those of you new to my channel, I do vlogs like this where I'm exploring different things, reviewing different things, kind of sort of top 10s, hauls, rants on life, and more. I also do random shorts as well that come up on occasions. And from Monday to Tuesday, I do gameplay videos for games that are very long, so obviously need a series of videos for. And Wednesdays, I do Let's Play videos of games that are usually not as long, but are games that I like to return back to at a later date. Sometimes with these big games, it's okay to do them, but then you do kind of need a break of how big they are and so forth. So yeah, and I do small indie games as well. So yeah, see you in the next one. Peace to you all. And remember, never seal up a character's mouth when one of their nicknames is the Merc with the mouth, because you're doing a very bad thing by doing that. So bear that in mind. Also important that you don't. It's probably also important that you don't seal up everybody's mouths, because even though there is a lot of rubbish that comes out of some people's mouths, not to name a few politicians and people in power, that because this channel is not a political channel, it's not great when they can say this, and this, but apparently when people say this, and this, it's all wrong. Yeah, it just doesn't work. But yeah, I should stop because it's all about Deadpool. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Toodles.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.